Hello everyone. Today I will be providing brush swatches for you, as I have recently put up a tutorial of using the Pinky Rose Cosmetic Transition Palette. This is known as the Sunflower Palette, and I wanted to provide brush swatches for anyone who may be curious about how the colors will look, especially for those with my skin tone or basically a darker skin tone. So I want to provide those swatches for you. So I'm going to get started, and before I get started, I will be using my Eco Tools Makeup Brush Cleansing Cloths that I purchased from Big Lots for $2. And I will be using a regular dry tissue to basically dry off the brush between swatches. And I am going to be using my Morphe 208 brush. It's a basically flat shader brush. Or I'll be using my e.l.f. concealer brush, which has a flat tip to it. But most likely I'll be using my Morphe M408. So let's go ahead and get started. So we don't have many colors to swatch, so this video is going to be pretty quick. So I'm going to put my arm into view. So we're going to go ahead and start with the first shade, which is called Butterfly, and it's like, looks like a nice nude brown shade with like peachy undertones. So let's go ahead and get started with this shade. And I'm not using any primer on my arm. The colors that you will see in this video is strictly the color of the pigment without any base. So this is the first shade. Again, it's a nice, warm, peachy tone eyeshadow. And it is a matte finish. Again, that is called Butterfly. The next shade is called Mon-Sat, and it is more of a, I think more of a orange undertone to it, so it's a slight more warmer than this shade. So I should be swatching more on this side of my skin so y'all can see it. So I'm gonna go back and relap those colors so it shows a little bit better in the video, because otherwise I'll have to just rotate my arm like this way. Maybe I just leave it like that. I don't have to go back. So the next shade I will be swatching is called Fly Girl, and it looks like a nice, almost like a mauve brown tone, if that's possible. It definitely has like a, so maybe it's not mauve, maybe it's just a straight brown shade, but it definitely has that cool brown undertone to it. So I would say this is more like a, almost like a gray, not a gray, but more like a, it's hard to describe. I would say like a more of a cool tone brown shade. Definitely brown undertone. So that is Fly Girl. So it definitely has that smoky brown, cool undertone to it. So the next shade is called Heartless, and it's a nice burgundy, deep burgundy shade. Again, all 4 shades are mattes. There are only 2 foiled shades in this palette. So this is definitely, it's a deeper burgundy, but you can see some brown undertones to it. Well, it may be because that, hopefully it's not Fly Girl that's showing through there. So I really try to clean my brush off. But that is the hue of it. Let me try my concealer brush just to compare it. So I'm going to do another layer of Heartless over it. So I definitely think it's probably some of the Fly Girl showing through the shade. But I do think it has some smoky, there's some smoky undertone to it. Because that is just the first shade. But again, it could be some of the Fly Girl peeking through that shade. So I'm going to I'm cleaning off my brush between the swatches, and then I'm going to continue on. But pretty much Heartless is a deep burgundy shade. I'm gonna do another swatch just to show you all, and hopefully the Fly Girl doesn't show through the brush, because I did try to clean it well. So this is another shade, another color, another swatch of it. And usually I don't do second swatches of these colors, but I just want to see if there was any difference between it, or if any of the Fly Girl had shown through. So it definitely looks smoky, like a smoky type of shade. But I may come back and show that color again, with a different brush to see if there's any difference in that color swatch. So we're just gonna move ahead and swatch Thirsty next. So Thirsty is this nice, cool jewel tone, full shimmer shade. It looks full. There's tiny flecks of, I would say, shimmer and mica that is in this particular shade shadow, and it's very pretty. This would definitely be a shade that you can decorate your lid. You could do a hollow look, a cut crease with this shade. You can also accent your inner corner of your eye, known as your tear duct, and your bottom lash line. It looks very festive, it's very beautiful, and it has like a shift. Like if I don't know if you can notice, if I move my arm around, you kind of see a shift to it. It's really beautiful. It's like a mix of green, brown, and then those little tiny flecks of blue. And I see like some hint of gold in it. So it's definitely in a very unique color shade. That's really pretty. So again, that is Thirsty. I would love it if Pinky Rose came out with a complete full eyeshadow palette, because these colors are so stunning. So maybe they did an all matte palette and then an all full shimmer, or half mattes and half full shadow palette. That would be really nice. So the next shade I would be swatching is called Grunge, and this is deep, almost like a deep peacock green shade. I was gonna say blue, but it's more on a green spectrum. And in the video I called it an army green shade, and this is a matte finish. This shade is definitely a shade you would need some building. You would need to build this shade up. And I'm going in with additional layers to build up the color, just so you all can see. It looks kind of patchy in my swatch, so that's what it looks like. But nevertheless, it's still a very nice color. It's definitely a color you would have to, again, build up on your eye. And sometimes when you're swatching these colors on your arm, they're not always going to look identical to how it will look when you apply it on your eye, especially on top of a primer base. The colors may look much different, so also keep that in mind. So we're going to go in with this nice full shade called On Fire. And it looks like a rose gold shade. I almost feel bad having to swatch over it because I haven't used it yet. I don't know how you all are, but sometimes when I get a new palette, I like to leave them untouched until I've used them. But for the sake of this video, I want to be able to provide swatches, especially if you all have been considering to purchase this palette. So it's a nice rose gold, but more of a peachy, like a peachy apricot undertone to it. So it's not your complete rose gold. It has that orange gold base to it. More peachy than rose. So more like a peachy gold, I should say. Very beautiful color. And again, that is a color that you can apply all over your lid, accent your upper lower lash line. It's very beautiful. And the full shade, they just glide on like butter. And I think most of the matte shades do as well. But there's some that are a little bit where you have to apply, you have to finesse it. Which means, in my terminology, you have to build up the shade a little bit more. And again, this is brush swatches. When you put it on your eye, you may see that, oh, it doesn't require a lot of work, but this is just how, I'm just showing you how the color looks against my skin tone. And the last shade is called Blog Life. It's a nice deep plum shade. And I love purples. So this is a nice, I'm thinking it's going to be a very nice purple shade. And again, this is a matte finish. Yeah, this one glides really nicely. And I have to go in with any additional color set towards the end to finish out the stroke, to finish out the brush swatch. So that is all 8 shades around the transition palette on the outer quarter rim. So that's what it looks like. Very beautiful fall shades. Like these are, I don't think this is an all year type palette, but definitely in the fall, autumn, and slightly winter type palette. It's just very gorgeous shades. Very, very nice. Because these are shades you can definitely wear in the evening, and you can also wear them for night looks. Like Blog Life and On Fire together will look very beautiful. Because I'm just looking at the two of them together. It would go really nicely. So now I'm going to swatch the transition shade, which is the biggest shade of the whole palette. There's a lot of pigment here. So this is the transition shade. With a nice mustard type yellow. Hopefully y'all can see it. A lot of the yellows really blend into my skin tone because I do have warm golden undertones, or you could say yellow undertone. So more of a neutral undertone or more of a warm gold. But I also can wear cool undertones, but my skin is more towards the warm spectrum. So it looks kind of sheer. Hopefully y'all can see that. It looks kind of sheer, that transition shade. So I'll just add some more just to try to help build up the color so y'all can see it more. So that's the transition shade. So I'm going to come closer to the camera and show you all the shades. See what they look like? They're very beautiful. So this shade again is Butterfly. This shade is Onset. This shade is Fly Girl. This shade is Heartless. Both of these shades are Heartless because I want to show you any difference in the swatches. This shade is called Thirsty, which is most likely probably my favorite shade in this palette. And I like Blog Life too. It's a nice deep plum shade. The next shade to it is called Grunge. And the next shade is called On Fire. This shade is called Blog Life. And the last shade is your transition shade, which is the bigger shade in the middle of the palette. So those are the shades from left and right. So I may show you a different, add an additional video to this to show it to you with primer on my arm so you all can see any contrast in the shades without any primer, how it looks now. So I'm going to do a part 2 to this video. It's going to be longer, but I just want to see, I want to show to those who may want to see it with primer, which I normally don't do that. I usually just do it without any primer so you all can see the true pigmentation of the actual shadows. But with this video, I'm going to add some primer to my arm and come back and re-swatch again for you. So I will be back very shortly. So I am back and I have primed my arms with the NYX eyeshadow base and skin tone that I regularly use as my eye primer. And I really like NYX primers, by the way. They really is a good adhesive for the pigments. So let's get started. So I'm going to go back in the same fashion as I started before. I will be using the same method to swatch the shadows so you all can see any difference using a primer from before when I swatched basically with no primer. So I'm going in with the first shade, Butterfly. And with a primer, it glides like butter. Look at that. And it glides really well without primer, but definitely more so with a primer. So that is Butterfly. I really love the transition shades. This shade can also be used all over the lid as well. You just want to go for a nice neutral look. And the next shade is called Mon-Sat, which is that nice deep peachy apricot shade. I love how I glide my brush down. You can see the pigment. So that is Mon-Sat. I really like the pigments are like butter, like they are so very smooth. The next shade is Fly Girl. So that is Fly Girl. So I think all the first three are really good transition shades, or you can wear them all over the eyes. A lot of these shades are like multi-purpose. You don't have to just stick to using them in your transition or your crease shades. Like, you can really play with these. You can even use them as eyeliner shades. So line your lashes with them. Smudge them out in your lower lash line. Like, you could really do creative looks with this palette. The next shade is called Heartless. Yeah, our Heartless definitely had a beautiful burgundy tone to it. Very deep red, almost like a deep red brown shade, which is what burgundy tends to be, or maroon shade. So that is Heartless. The next shade is called Thirsty. It's one of my favorite shades from this palette. Because you can really see those colors really pop. Hopefully you all can see on the camera, but it really, like, I'm sure the camera's not going to do it justice. Because in person, it is so gorgeous. That blue and gold sparkle with that dark, I'll say like a dark brown base to it. It's so gorgeous. You can kind of see the sparkles as I move my arm around. Stunning. And then the next shade we're going to be going into would be Grunge. So this is Grunge. Grunge is definitely one of those deeper, really pressed matte finish to it. So you're gonna again need to work it, even though I'm still having to work it over this swatch with primer. But it works very well with primer. You just gotta work it in some more. So that is Grunge. And I like greens, like variations of green shades. It's really pretty. Like, I like when palettes just throw variations of different types of colors in the palette, because we all can use a pop of color. So these greens should also make their way into these palettes. And the next beautiful shade is going to be On Fire. These full shades are like fire. Just like the name says, On Fire, they perform like fire. So this is On Fire. Again, a very stunning peachy gold shade. You see that? Really gorgeous. And once again, I do highly recommend this palette. I think it retails for, if I'm not mistaken, in the 20s. I want to say like around 25, between $25 and $28 in price. But it's really a really nice palette. And next to the last shade, because I got a swatch transition too, the transition shade is called Blog Life, and this is another shade I really like from this palette that I think I may come back and film another look with it, with this palette. So definitely a deep, plummy, smoke purple type shade. So that is Blog Life. And I was on Ricky's NYC to be basically looking, and I came across, I was on there for some reason. The reason skips my mind right now, but I saw that Pinky Rose Cosmetic was on the header photo on the site, and when I went to go search to see if they had Pinky Rose, the search didn't bring anything up. So I don't know if Pinky Rose is coming in the future or has been there and no longer at Ricky's NYC online store. But that would be cool, especially for those on the East Coast to be able to get it on the ground. So the last shade is the transition shade. So you can see the yellow kind of pops a little bit more with the primer. It's a definitely pretty yellow shade, and it does pop more when you apply primer to it. Again, this is another shade like grunge. You'll have to build the color up. Just as I'm showing you in this video, I'm building the color up. So that is all the colors from the transition palette called Sunflower. And if you think about it, it does have the colors of like a sunflower. It's very like a nature type palette. Beautiful shades. And that Thirsty and On Fire really takes my breath away. And Blog Life. And I also like Onset. I like all the shades, but some just really blows my mind. And I love how there's strong pigmentations with the shades. So I'll bring it up closer so you all can see. It's really a very beautiful laid out palette. And I do think about sunflowers, especially when I look at the last two shades. I think about the seeds, the inner part of a sunflower, the yellow, the sunflower petals, and then the green, the leaves around the sunflower. And some sunflowers are that mixed color of like burgundy, or some have them trimmings of brown in it. They definitely have some orange in them, so they get like a variation of colors. So these are all the shades. Again, from left to right, you got Butterfly, Onset, Fly Girl, Heartless, Thirsty, Grunge, Onset, Blot Life, and that transition shade. So you have all those beautiful shades. And thank you for watching this video. Hopefully these swatches help you all to get an idea about the palette. I did provide brush swatches without primer and also with primer, but my future videos will continue to be without primer because I like to show the true pigmentations of eyeshadows without primer applied to them. And if you have any questions or any comments, please leave them below. Again, thank you so much for watching this video, and have a very, very beautiful day. Bye.